This is Sports 225, Baton Rouge's longest running and best TV show. Now in its 18th year, if you count those 16 years of Sports Monday, and we do. Sports 225 is brought to you by Breck. Remember, it all starts at Breck. Presented by Raising Cane's, home of One Love. Now, here's your host, Lee Feinswog.
And so it is, Sports 225. Since the last time we saw you, so much has happened, especially all things LSU, which is why later in the show, Glenn Guilbeau, the Gannett News Service, will be with me, and we'll talk about, among other things, Tyrann Mathieu and his exit from the LSU football team. The Olympics are over. Since we did our last Sports 225, the football season is just around the corner, which is why in our next segment I'll be out at Southern University talking to Stump Mitchell, the Southern University head football coach starting his third year. And looking at your third year, and I remember when you got here, I think that you had a lot of challenges that you talked about, but maybe you didn't understand how great they were, not the least of which was, the cupboard's bare and I got to change the culture in a hurry.
Well, I don't think the cupboard was bare. I really appreciated those guys that were here the first year, but we lacked a lot of discipline my first year. They were talented enough. We just didn't get it accomplished, mainly because of a lack of discipline.
But that all goes back to when you got the job. There were a lot of guys whose academics were suspect, and you were looking at depleted numbers. I mean, to say that you were overburdened with depth, right? Was you know what I'm saying? Like, I think,
absolutely. We didn't have a lot of depth, and if someone was injured, it was definitely a difficult time. And then we lost some of those guys for the second year. We played with a lot of freshmen the second year, and that hurt us, even though the games were a lot closer than they were the first year.
Did you think, and I ask you this from somebody who's going into his third year now, and you've had to strap him on pretty tight a couple times, like roller coaster ride. Did you think this job maybe was going to be easier than it was when you first took it?
Well, football is never an easy game at all. I thought the job would be better with the guys that have come from Southern. Southern has a rich tradition of great athletes, guys that have been in the Pro Bowls and guys that are in the Hall of Fame. Those are the type of athletes Southern had in the past. They don't have those type of athletes right now, but I think we're getting them, and I think this year will be the year.
There's a lot of us who hope you're right, because you're the kind of guy you want to root for. You have that. No, he does, really. He's got that kind of personality. You kind of infectious, and I remember when, like, again, I don't want to keep harping back to 2 years ago, but when you got the job, thinking, man, I want this guy to do good.
Well, I appreciate it. I want to do good. I want to be here, but we have to win. That's the bottom line, right. And that's just business. There's no more or no less expected from me than should be expected from anyone else. If you're not getting production, obviously you have to get somebody else to come in and do the job. But I think we have the guys here that can get the job done, and I'm looking forward to the season. I'm excited about it.
All right, let's talk about the two guys you got competing for the quarterback spot, because from looking from afar, like reading the stories in the paper, seeing what you've been telling the guys on TV, and looking at your post-practice interviews, it seems like every day you got a different kind of gut feeling about how a guy did or who's going to get that job.
Well, today was a bad day for both of the guys. I thought Dre on the scrimmage Saturday made more of the right reads that we wanted, even though his percentage was not as good as JP. JP made some crucial errors that we got away with. There were a couple of interceptions that should have been interceptions. We dropped the ball. New Mexico won't drop the ball. So I thought Dre mechanically and fundamentally played a better and a sounder, much more sounder game than JP. Today in practice, both of them just tried to ad-lib a little bit too much, and it didn't lead for good success.
Stump doesn't like ad-lib that much. We're talking about J.P. Douglas and Dre Joseph. What's Dre's upside? Let's say he wins the job and he gets it. What wins it for him?
I think the guy that makes the least amount of mistakes and just do what we ask him to do, not trying to go out of the box. He's one of 11 people that have to do their job. He doesn't have to win a game for us. What neither one of those guys can do is lose a game for us. And we did that. We threw 4 or 5 interceptions for touchdowns last year, and we lost the game by less than 6 points. So they cannot make those type of mistakes trying to make a play. Throw the ball away and allow us to punt. who knows? We may go down there, they might fumble the punt, and we might get it closer to the end zone.
Yeah, well, I always like that theory. I always like the theory too, and you're a former running back, which is run the ball more than you pass it. You know? And in today's world, there's this tendency and temptation to want to just air it out all the time. The kids want to do it. You know, the wide receivers want the ball. But, you know, we talked about this last week with the LSU coaches. You know, the old line, remember, there are 3 things that can happen when you pass the ball, and 2 of them are bad.
Exactly.
You know?
We like to run the ball. It's no question now, but I'm down to my 4th running back so far. I'm glad we got 2 weeks before we have to play. And the 3rd running back, he practiced for 3 days, then he missed 4 days. So it was tough. He came back out today just like he was a freshman, and he is a freshman. And he made a bunch of mistakes, and he forgot what he knew 2 days ago. So it's going to be difficult thinking you can play with that guy if he can't practice. But we want to run the ball. There's no question about that. But you can't run the ball on 3rd and 10 and think you're going to get a first down when you weren't able to get the necessary yardage you needed on the first 2 downs.
That's a good way to put it. We're visiting with Stump Mitchell. He's about to start his 3rd year as a Southern University head football coach, and it's the heat of August, and the kids responded well so far. I mean, because it feels particularly hot. My wife says it's because I'm getting older, but I think it's because it's been really hot.
Yeah, I think they're in much better condition than they've ever been, and that's one thing that I think we're going to be able to lay our hat on. Defensively, I think we see guys flying around more so than we did our first 2 years, and I think that's because things are simpler. It's allowing those guys the opportunity to just play off their athleticism.
You like your defense?
I do. I do. I like it. I like Corey, Roy. I like Dietrich and Lindsey. I just like those guys, Virgil Williams, Levi Jackson. They're going to have an opportunity to make some plays.
Finish up this segment, let me ask you a question. It's kind of different. You know, our mutual friend, and in your case adversary, Doug Williams, got a strange thing going on up at Grambling. Help me if I'm wrong here. Suing his school, still coaching his team, and yet you're one of your fiercest rivals. You must be looking at that from afar and going, the heck's going on here? I'm
not looking at anything other than Southern. I got my own problems. The world can have theirs. I don't know anything other than what's going on in Southern. And that's not tunnel vision. That's just the way it is right now.
All right, tell me who's good in the SWAC before we go to break. Who's the few best teams?
Well, Grambling won it. No question about that. Alabama A&M, Alabama State, they always play well. And Jackson State, you know, those are the teams that you're really going to have to take care of.
One thing about the SWAC, you better be open for business every Saturday, because if the game doesn't have a rivalry classic name, it is a rivalry classic game no matter what.
Especially when the teams are playing Southern. I mean, in the past, Southern has been known for dominating teams, not just beating them. So those people from the past that were dominated, if they feel like they have just the slightest chance of being in the game against Southern, they're going to come to the game.
And then, has your personality at all fostered any of that? Or like if you ask the other coaches in the league, do we like Stump, or we like beating Stump more than we like beating anybody else?
They like beating Southern. I just happen to be the coach here. That's the bottom line. But they got a fanny too.
They got a fanny too.
Yeah, that paddle works both ways.
There's a line never used on our show before. Stump Mitchell is a Southern University football coach. I'm Lee Feinswog at Sports 225, and we'll be right back.